As I'm recording this video, we are living through the global pandemic of COVID-19. Many countries, including my own, are under different levels of lockdown, in part to avoid overloading the hospitals. For those of us lucky enough to live in relatively wealthy countries with good healthcare systems, this is a reminder that healthy people are the foundation for healthy economies. Around the world, developing countries usually have multiple health issues in society, crippling the economy. COVID-19 comes on top of all this, taking up capacity in already overloaded healthcare providers. Because of this, the pandemic amplifies existing health problems as well as poverty and hunger. Knowing the importance of good health, the United Nations made its third Sustainable Development Goal about ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all people and of all ages. This has been broken down into 9 targets. The first target is to reduce maternal mortality, and the second target is to end preventable deaths of children under 5 years of age. Back in the beginning of the 1900s, the maternal death rate was about 1 dead mother for every 100 live births. These days, we count the number of deaths per 100,000 live births. The global average is around 200. In some countries like Norway and Italy, it's as low as 2. In the US, it's 19 and slightly rising. On the other end of the scale, we find South Sudan, Chad, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, the Central African Republic, and Somalia. They all have a maternal death rate of around 1,000. That is about what the global average was over 100 years ago. 99% of maternal deaths occur in developing countries, and most of the causes are either preventable or have highly effective interventions. One of the leading causes is unsafe abortion practices, which actually includes drinking toxic fluids such as turpentine and bleach. Globally, about 3.9% of all children die before they reach 5 years old. That means, on average, 15,000 children die every day. It is estimated that up until at least the year 1800, more than a third of all children died before the age of 5. An average woman at the time had between 5 to 7 children, so parents could expect to lose 2 or 3 children in their first years. Today, the areas of the world with high child mortality rates are largely the same as where the maternal mortality rate is high. While countries such as Finland, Japan, and Singapore have around 2 or 3 deaths per 1,000 live births, the number is well over 100 in Nigeria, Somalia, Chad, the Central African Republic, Sierra Leone, and a few others. It is worth noting that China and India have achieved a sharp decline in both maternal and child mortality over the past few decades. The third and fourth target are about fighting communicable diseases, to reduce mortality from non-communicable diseases, and promoting mental health. Communicable diseases, also known as infectious or transmissible diseases, include AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. The UN aims to end these pandemics by 2030. There is still no cure or vaccine against HIV and AIDS, but the antiretroviral treatments available today can lead to a near-normal life expectancy. Even more important, successful treatment may reduce the risk of transmission from a person living with HIV to almost 0. Non-communicable diseases include cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, and so on. These diseases are the leading cause of death globally, accounting for about 70% of all deaths. Yet, many of these diseases are preventable. The most important risk factors are tobacco, air pollution, harmful use of alcohol, lack of physical activity, and unhealthy diet. By eliminating these risks, as much as 80% of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes, and 40% of cancer cases could be prevented. As for mental health, about 800,000 people die from suicide each year. That is about twice as many as those who die from homicide. Globally, suicide rates are actually highest in people aged 70 years and older. The overall suicide rate has decreased over the past few decades, but there are significant differences between countries. There has been a sharp decline in China, while in South Korea there has been a significant rise. Related to mental health is also the fifth target, which is about substance abuse. Harmful use and withdrawal from alcohol and other substances are one of the major risk factors of suicide. Hearing the word alcoholism, you might think of Russian men drinking vodka. If so, that would be spot on. Russia has the highest prevalence of alcoholism in the world in men, followed closely by Hungary and Lithuania. Alcoholism is more common among men, but the proportion of female alcoholics is rising. Female alcoholism has the highest prevalence in Australia, followed by Russia and Norway. Alcoholism is one of the few health issues where we find African countries far down on the list. Targets 6 and 9 are about reducing health risks in the environment people are living in. When the Sustainable Development Goals were defined in 2015, the UN resolved to halve the number of deaths and injuries from road traffic accidents by 2020. In reality, there has been no significant progress on this. Still, approximately 1.35 million people die each year as a result of road traffic crashes. Any improvements that may have been in road safety have been balanced out by an increase in road networks and traffic. Road traffic injuries are now the leading cause of death for people between 5 and 29 years old. The most important causes of road accidents are speeding, alcohol and other substances, not using a motorcycle helmet, seatbelt or child restraint, as well as distracted driving, for instance using a phone. Some newer cars have advanced systems to help avoid accidents, but that doesn't really help much if there are 10 people on the roof that go flying through the air when braking hard. Train accidents often make news headlines around the world, as so many people die in one single accident. For instance, in April 2021, a train accident in Taiwan killed 49 people. This was one of the main news stories even in Norway, halfway around the world. However, the news stories fail to mention that, on average, more than 35 people die in road accidents in Taiwan every week. The UN also set out to reduce death and illness from chemicals, pollution, and contamination of air, water, and soil. One of the most important causes is indoor air pollution, caused by cooking and heating homes using polluting fuels. According to the World Health Organization, around 3.8 million people die each year from exposure to household air pollution. Fortunately, this specific type of pollution is on a steady decline. Sustainable Development Goal number 6 is specifically about access to clean water and sanitation. A key to ensuring good health and well-being is access to healthcare and information. This is covered by targets 7 and 8. With regard to the first two targets, dealing with reproduction, the level of sexual and reproductive information and education in schools around the world varies a lot. In some countries, such as Sweden, the subject is somewhat started already in kindergarten and continues through all years of school. Other countries, such as Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Pakistan, have no coordinated sex education programs at all. Access to any kind of essential healthcare services is also substantially lacking in many parts of the world. Globally, about 65% of people can access the health services they need without facing financial hardship. In some countries, such as Canada, Norway, and Singapore, most people are covered. However, in countries such as Somalia, Chad, South Sudan, and the Central African Republic, only about a third or a quarter of the population is covered. If you have seen my previous two videos about poverty and hunger, you might start to see a pattern. A handful of countries, like Chad, the Central African Republic, Somalia, and a few others, are on the top of the list for several of the problems the Sustainable Development Goals try to solve. This shows that many of these problems are strongly related to each other. As an example, poverty increases the risk of death and disability from non-communicable diseases. But developing a non-communicable disease also increases the risk of falling into poverty. If you think the topic of this video is important, consider clicking the like button. That way you're letting YouTube know that this video should be presented to more people just like you. The next video will be about education. If that sounds interesting, you might want to subscribe. The video will be out about a month from now. If you want a reminder, just click the bell.